All right. Well, if anybody else pops in, then they are welcome, but we have more than enough people here for quorum. So thank you all again for making time on an off night to do this. But we have a short deadline. Arwick actually has a deadline of today to have their portfolio of stuff together of like these commitment letters for matching funds for their grant. So I appreciate everybody making the time to do this. Um, Did everybody have a chance to look at the slide deck that I had shared out about the project and get a chance to kind of familiarize yourselves with it? And does anybody have any questions about it? I can do my best to answer what I know from having talked to Jonathan about it, Jonathan from Arwick. No? Okay, that's great. So essentially, yeah, there's this dam, which is the last barrier to both fish passage and navigation between the headwaters and Pueblo Reservoir. And the company that it's the if it's a diversion that feeds the cooling towers for a steel mill that's down there, and um, the company that owns it has basically been unresponsive to efforts, people's overtures to try to do this job for decades. And I think basically there's a new person working there that is open to it now. And so all of a sudden there's this opportunity to take this thing out that people have had their eye on for decades. And so talking with Yates and Jonathan from Arwick, they're really close as far as getting what they need to for matching for their CWCB grant to do this. And they're kind of in the same place that we are on the South Arc, where they are um, looking to do basically the design of it at this point. And their grant, like they thought it was going to be in the five to $600,000 range, and so they needed to come up with 25% match for that. And it sounds like they finally did get the actual quote, and it was a little bit less than that, which is good news. So, Bob, have you had any more recent conversations with Jonathan? Do you have any information you can share?
I do. I've been following it pretty closely, just obviously since I'm on the board of Arwick. And I mean, kudos to Jonathan for, opening doors that we've been kind of looking at for decades, actually over 30 years. And it's kind of crazy that he was able to find someone at Evraz, which is it's actually a different board now that owns that and runs that operation. It used to be CF&I, a major steel mill in Pueblo, and it's a significant canal that it feeds, and it's not working as good as it can. So we're hoping that Evraz will kick in a significant amount, both for this technical assistance grant, like you mentioned, the 25% there. I'm not sure what their amount is right now, but I think it's not as significant as it should be, since this will really benefit them the most, more than anybody. And then if we can get the boat chute slash fish passage way into this structure, then there's a lot of win-win for the whole community and the whole basin. Um, so I think you explained that correctly. I think the 25% match is for a technical assistance grant. It's not for the actual work on the on the dam itself, which is I don't know, 4, 5, $6 million potentially. It's mind-boggling what these things cost. And so yeah, I think 11th hour, things are happening. Things are happening even as we meet for ourselves. The city council in Canyon is meeting with this agenda item as well, like right now. Last Our last meeting with AROA, the Outfitters Association, and our water entity, ARCC, we're contributing between the two $15,000 for this phase, which is phase one for the technical assistance grant match. And lot of good partners. Unfortunately, CPW hasn't stepped up yet, which is what we're working on today. And you know, there it's if you guys know this, the way the AHRA, the state park works, it extends all the way to the Pueblo Reservoir. So they do manage this reach of river, and it's important piece to the conclusion of, the boating passage and the fish passage. These are important things for the AHRA as much as anybody. So hopefully they're going to step up and figure out a way to get some money involved. And I think we need this group as a partner. So I think you're right. I think it's coming together. Jonathan seemed to be optimistic today. I talked to him this morning. I don't know when you talked to him. Did you talk to him later than that today?
No, I haven't talked to him for a couple days.
Okay.
So, um,
So those are the things I know, Chris. I mean,
okay.
it's a safety hazard. It's a low head dam, so there's potential to have issues there, and obviously the boating and the fishing situation. For Trout Unlimited, I don't know if you met, I think you mentioned that other chapters are involved, right?
Yeah. The Colorado Greenbacks chapter, which is in Pueblo and Canyon City, and then the Pikes Peak chapter in Colorado Springs. I know that the Pueblo chapter is pledged 5,000. I think that Pikes Peak had, but I'm not positive about that. But I know Jonathan was talking with them. So, and I had a conversation with all these folks at Rendezvous, and everybody was very excited about the project and seemed eager to be involved. So I'm optimistic that I'm not positive that Pikes Peak is contributing the same amount, but I know that was kind of what Jonathan was going for. I'm guessing they probably are. So
So the thing that I think will be really interesting, you guys, is that if it does come to fruition, it has the potential to be a very interesting mingling of a warm water fishery coming up from Pueblo, mixing with a trout fishery coming downstream. So if you potentially could ever get down there and float it and fish it, I mean, you could see walleye and largemouth bass and smallmouth bass mixing in with the trout, and who knows what else. But I have floated it a couple times all the way to the reservoir, and it is very unique, very different than other parts of the river. A lot of cottonwood trees, blue heron rookeries. It's a big birding scene there. Um, so there is some incredible value recreationally for all the uses that we like to talk about. I mean, the next thing would be to get a decent takeout on the western end of the reservoir, since now you would have to go all the way across the reservoir to get to the boat ramps, unless it's a handheld uh, vessel.
uh, well, I think this is a really cool opportunity for us to collaborate with some groups further downstream that we don't always collaborate with. The other TU chapters, that's something I really want to do more of, especially in the Southeast region, is more of that sort of collaboration. But groups like ARCC and Rio Grande or Royal Gorge Rio, which is a private boaters group in Canyon City, they're really involved in this project. So I think it's a cool opportunity for us to get involved and make some new friends and maybe kind of scout out some future collaborations. So that's a cool opportunity with this project too. But so yeah, if anybody doesn't, unless anybody has any other questions or concerns or things they wanted to talk about, I'm happy to give anybody else the floor here.
I had a quick question. So, we were talking about this is kind of funding the, I guess the first phase, or this would raise the funds to actually do like a thorough technical analysis and come up with an actual plan for the construction, which could be in the millions. I mean, is there any doubt in anyone's mind, or is there any kind of chance that, if all the money comes together and for the first technical phase, um, what are the chances of the actual project happening, I guess, is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I have a good answer for it. That's it ultimately it's on private property. It's a privately owned dam.
Hmm.
So they kind of hold all the cards in terms of saying yes or no to getting it done. Um, but I think the fact that they're willing to talk with us and do this, they're contributing, I believe, 25,000 Evraz to the match, which I wish it was a lot more than that, considering like Bob said, the stand needs a lot of work. So they're going to get the work done on the cheap. And so I think maybe that might tie in, Scott, to the fact that the dam needs to be fixed essentially. And so this is an opportunity to make it more ecologically and voter friendly in the process. So I think from Everaz's point of view, that there's groups like Arwick out there that are willing to go and find the money to do it. That's a real big win for them because, like Bob said, we're looking at several $1 million to redo the dam. So if they're just on their own paying for it versus people like Arwick out there getting grant money to do it, I think that would make a lot of sense for them. So from that point of view, I'd be optimistic that they would want to go through with it. But
Okay.
yeah, ultimately they hold all the cards in terms of saying yes or no at the final.
Sure. Yeah. Just curious. 'Cause if it's challenging to raise, a much smaller sum just to do the study, the actual removal money could be kind of tough to come by. But
Yeah,
it's a lot of good organizations and people have put a lot of time and are leading into this. So that's a good sign to me.
yeah.
I don't really know much more about it from the slides that you sent. So did a little Googling and whatnot, but yeah, no, it makes sense to me. So,
So so I think the challenge hasn't necessarily been finding the money. It's been getting the agreement from Evraz to let anybody do it. And kind of the scramble that's going on right now is because of this particular grant program. It's Inflation Reduction Act money that basically expires at the end of December. So um, they have to be under contract. Arwick has to be under contract with CWCB by the end of December. And they had to go through a lot of preliminary, kind of how it works is that there's CWCB has a contractor that is going to do the design work. And so they had to kind of look at the project, come back with a bid of how much it was going to cost. And then that's what Arwick has been waiting for and just got recently. That's like the 500 grand design thing. So getting all, and then so Arwick just didn't have a lot of time, but to get this together, and it's a short deadline of December 31st
mhm.
to kind of put together this matching funds portfolio. Moving forward, there'll be a lot more lead time and a lot more to get that grant money and figure it out. So that's not to say that it's not a heavy lift to find $4 million or something, but
Sure.
the scramble that's going on right now isn't typical. It's just because this IRA money is expiring, and so um, once they're under contract, then they'll have, I don't know, a couple of years or something, but the contract has to be executed by the end of this year. So that's the scramble.
Understood.
So I did want to bring up, I don't know if everybody saw Keith's email. I thought he was going to be here. Talked to him earlier today and he said he's going to be here, but he's not. So he had expressed some concern about the $5,000 dollar amount and suggested maybe 2,500. And so I wanted to bring that up and see what other people thought about that. And I have um, I have the budget, some budget numbers up here that we can look at. If you guys want to, I'm happy to share those so we can kind of look at what sort of funds we have available and our future plans for redistribute or recouping this money. So I'm happy to share that, but I'd like to just open the floor to people's discussions and thoughts on Keith's email that he had sent out last week or a few days ago, I guess. Anybody?
I think, oh, I'd like to go over the numbers, but I'm also of the opinion that we should spend the money while we have it. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely support, I support working to remove this dam or modify it so it's navigable. But I think it would be good just to quickly go over the numbers.
You bet. So can you guys see this?
Yes. Yep.
So this is the budget, the most recent budget that Don has put up on Google, and we spoke a minute ago, and he said there hasn't been anything really significant that's come through in the last month. So these are kind of the two numbers to look at here, which is this 33,000 was our let's see, sorry. Dawn, you can help me out here. If you, I want to make sure that I'm saying this correct, that the 33,000 that's in this number is basically what we have yet to spend of the money that we had budgeted for fiscal year 2024. And what our actual spending is 7,373, which tells me that we need to radically adjust our budget next year, that we can. I know that we padded the budget a little bit because it was Don's first year, and without having some history here, we wanted to make sure that so we kind of carried a bunch of stuff over, but that's a different conversation. But so we have here the yeah, we spent 7,000 out of what, roughly 40,000 that we had budgeted. Don, am I reading that correctly?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, gotcha.
Yes, you're reading that correctly. Just a reminder, the budget goes through March next year. It's not end of this year, but it's end of March.
Right. And looking
Yeah, I mean,
at,
there's in my opinion, 2,500 versus 5,000 or 4,000 or whatever the proposal was is not that significant. I mean, we certainly have the money. We've had, the proceeds we got from IF4 were big. So, I mean, there's not, there's a lot of room in our budget to cover the original amount that you recommend. There's not any kind of, I mean, that's what I just go, because we have the money, it's better, just like Bianca said, it's better to spend it than just to sit on it. So I would recommend that we go with the original amount. It's not gonna put a dent in our budget. My opinion.
okay, yeah, that was kind of my thought too, is we don't have any particular targets for this money. This is a slide that I had in the end of year, which is pertinent, which is our fundraising from last year. So 110,000 of that was grant money. So you back that out, and we raised 15,000 last year. And we spent 7 thus far. Big one here is the Film Fest. We raised $8,900. I have plans to do a lot more outreach to get more sponsors, so I expect that number to go up quite a bit. We also didn't do an online trip raffle like we did in 2023, and that raised roughly $5,000 in 2023. So that's something we could certainly do again. We just need to find the bandwidth to do it. So we have, I think, options to basically make this money up, but we don't have anything in particular to point this money at right now. So I don't think we're going to put ourselves into debt or jeopardize a different program by supporting this.
Yeah, just FYI, we have $29,000 in our operating account. All the grant receipts that we received are now in the funds for grants or the ELC checking account. So we have essentially $29,000 in our checking account to cover whatever we need.
So this number that's 33 on here is 29 currently.
Yeah, The $2,000 that we contributed this Colorado TU just cleared. So that's the difference there for the most part.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, and the other piece of that is that from what Jonathan was telling me that the $5,000 amount would kind of get them where they need to be. And whereas I don't know that 2,500 would, I don't know that CWCB would shut the whole thing down based on $2,500 when they could pull that in. But I don't think that would happen. But at the same time, you know, if we can afford the 5,000, then maybe we should.
I would make
There-
the motion. If you're ready to entertain a motion or if you want more
Okay.
discussion.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other ideas, or you know, are we ready to do a vote, or does anybody have anything else they want to discuss?
I want to say you guys all have to go fish at Pathfinder Park before they take the dam out. It's
Yeah.
a great spot down there, you know, and there's a lot of cool fish that come up to the dam and stop right there. It's a great spot to fish streamers.
All right. Well, we can go down. You can take us all down there.
Yeah,
and you
field trip.
Hey, Chris, my only question would be, if approved 5,000, is that going to be you just want me to add a line to the budget? Or do you want to take that amount out from another category?
It might be easiest just to add a line to the budget, although I should stress that we're not paying that money right now. All we're doing right now is voting to commit that money, and we wouldn't have to pay that money out yet. I mean, it's going to be a while probably before that money would be needed. A few months at least, if not longer. But what we need to let them know today is basically to sign that letter of commitment that I had sent out to you guys, that we pledged that 5,000. So, yeah, I'm not sure. It might be easiest to do an additional line item. But we can talk about that and figure it out. It might be sufficient just to have a note in the budget of what that expenditure was for, like one of the little notes in there. But we can figure that out. So yeah, we don't have.
Certainly, if it's going to be in 4 months, we can add it to the basically next year's budget, which would, everybody would approve of that number.
Yeah, I can find out from Jonathan when exactly he's going to need it, but it's not. We don't have to cut a check tonight. So, all right. Well, if there's no other discussion, Bob made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll
to vote?
second.
Okay. So then the motion is to approve signing a pledge letter to pledge $5,000 in matching funds to Arwick's application for a CWCB grant to do design work on the Minnequa Dam. So all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I'm good.
Any opposed? Okay. And for the record, Mark Zinkula had emailed me and told me he was in favor, so we can add that vote as a yay vote. All right, well, we have quorum and I believe a unanimous vote, so we'll pass that. So thank you all again. And I'll let Jonathan know and get that letter out to him in the morning. And so yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting project. This is another one that's going to be years down the road before we see it come to fruition, but it's going to be really cool to be able to say that you can float all the way from Leadville to Pueblo without hitting a dam. So. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks, everybody. Go get some
Thanks.
dinner. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
Take
good.
care.
Okay.
Thanks.